Richard Dick Winters was a man whose quiet strength and exceptional leadership left an indelible mark on the men of Easy Company and the broader story of World War II. Born in Pennsylvania in 1918, Winters' journey from a modest upbringing to leading one of the most famous airborne units in the U.S. Army is a testament to his courage and resolve. His actions during pivotal battles, including D-Day and the Battle of the Bulge, showcased a leadership style that was defined by calm under pressure, tactical brilliance, and an unwavering commitment to his men. Richard Dick Winters was born on January 21, 1918, in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Growing up in a modest household, Winters demonstrated discipline and a strong work ethic from a young age, values that would serve him well later in life. His early years were shaped by his father's expectations and the close-knit nature of his small-town community. Winters attended Franklin and Marshall College, where he studied business. His time in college helped him develop leadership skills and instilled a sense of responsibility. He also learned the importance of teamwork, a trait that would define his military career. In 1941, as war loomed, Winters was drafted into the U.S. Army. He entered Officer Candidate School (OCS) at Fort Benning, Georgia, where he trained rigorously to become a leader. His natural leadership qualities soon caught the attention of his superiors. Winters was assigned to the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment of the 101st Airborne Division. This regiment was part of the newly formed airborne units, designed for rapid deployment behind enemy lines. It was a role that would place him at the heart of some of the most critical battles of World War II. Winters was made platoon leader of Easy Company, a group of men who would later become famous for their courage and camaraderie. He quickly earned the respect of his men due to his calm demeanor, strategic thinking, and his willingness to lead by example. They admired his quiet confidence and his ability to remain composed under pressure. As the US entered World War II, Easy Company underwent intense training in the hills of Georgia, learning parachuting, hand-to-hand combat, and small unit tactics. Winters thrived in this environment, excelling in both the physical and mental challenges. His leadership style was practical and direct. He knew that the survival of his men depended on precision and trust. Winters' first major operation came in June 1944, during the D-Day invasion of Normandy. As part of Operation Overlord, Easy Company parachuted into France to disrupt German defenses. Their mission was to secure key roads and causeways that the Allies needed to advance inland. On June 6, 1944, in the chaos of the Normandy landings, Winters found himself leading a small group of men after being separated from the rest of Easy Company. Despite the confusion, Winters maintained control and led his men on a successful assault against a German artillery battery, Brecourt Manor. His tactical genius in this operation became legendary. The Brecourt Manor assault is still studied in military academies today. With only 12 men, Winters devised a plan to take out 4 German 105mm guns that were firing on Utah Beach. His team, working efficiently under his direction, neutralized the position, saving countless American lives. For his bravery and leadership during the assault, Winters was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the U.S. Army's second highest military decoration. This operation was a defining moment for Winters and cemented his reputation as a skilled and courageous officer. His calm under fire and brilliant tactical decisions saved the day. After the Normandy campaign, Winters was promoted to Executive Officer XO of Easy Company. His leadership role expanded, and his responsibilities grew. Yet despite his rise in rank, Winters remained deeply connected to the men he commanded. Easy Company continued its campaign across Europe, participating in the liberation of France and the push into the Netherlands as part of Operation Market Garden. Although this operation was less successful than Normandy, Winters continued to lead his men with distinction. His ability to adapt to rapidly changing battlefield conditions set him apart. In the face of adversity, Winters' leadership was characterized by his personal courage and his unwavering dedication to his men. He believed that a good leader took care of his soldiers first and foremost, a philosophy that made him beloved by the men of Easy Company. His focus on the welfare of his troops was central to his success. As the war dragged on, Winters' ability to remain composed and focused in the most difficult of circumstances proved invaluable. His tactical brilliance, combined with his empathy for his men, earned him the trust of not just Easy Company, but also the higher command. He was a leader who led from the front. By the winter of 1944, Winters and Easy Company found themselves facing one of their greatest challenges yet, the Battle of the Bulge. This would be a turning point not only for the war, but also for Winters' leadership. By the time Richard Winters led his men during the D-Day invasion, he had already proven himself as a capable leader. His legendary assault on the German artillery at Brecourt Manor not only saved lives, but also became a textbook example of small unit tactics. As the war progressed, Winters' role expanded, and his leadership in the defense of Bastogne and the Battle of the Bulge further cemented his reputation. Despite facing brutal conditions, Winters remained focused, ensuring that his men were always prepared and that their morale stayed high. His calmness in the chaos of war earned him the undying respect of those who served under him. As winter set in during December 1944, the Allies were caught off guard by a massive German counteroffensive in the Ardennes forest. Known as the Battle of the Bulge, Easy Company, under the command of Winters, was sent to the front lines near the Belgian town of Bastogne. The men were ill-prepared for the brutal cold and lacked sufficient winter clothing and supplies. Despite the harsh conditions, Winters kept his men focused and prepared for the inevitable German assault. The situation in Bastogne was dire. Easy Company was surrounded by German forces and cut off from resupply. Winters' calm leadership during these tense days was crucial to keeping morale high. Under relentless artillery fire and facing overwhelming odds, Winters led Easy Company in the defense of Bastogne. His strategic positioning of his men and his ability to coordinate with other units helped repel multiple German attacks. His leadership during this period was a testament to his ability to remain level-headed in the face of extreme adversity. The Battle of the Bulge tested the physical and mental endurance of every soldier, but Winters' leadership shone through. He ensured that his men maintained their fighting spirit, despite being outnumbered and outgunned. His tactical decisions in Bastogne played a crucial role, holding the line until reinforcements arrived. As the brutal fighting continued, Winters was promoted to battalion command. This was a reflection of the trust that higher command placed in his abilities. Despite the increased responsibility, Winters remained close to his men, often joining them on the front lines. When the siege of Bastogne was finally lifted, Winters and his men continued their advance into Germany. They were among the first units to liberate several concentration camps, a harrowing experience that left a lasting impact on Winters. Seeing the horrors of the Holocaust reinforced his belief in the righteousness of their cause. As Easy Company pushed deeper into Germany, Winters led them through a series of operations that culminated in the capture of Hitler's Eagle's Nest in Berchtesgaden. This symbolic victory marked the end of the war in Europe for Easy Company, and Winters' role in their success was undeniable. With the war over, Winters was offered several promotions, but he turned them down, choosing instead to return to civilian life. His sense of duty had been fulfilled, and he longed for a quieter, simpler life. However, his leadership and service left an indelible mark on those he commanded. After the war, Winters returned to Pennsylvania, where he pursued a peaceful life, working as a businessman. Despite his desire for anonymity, his story gained national attention, especially after the publication of Stephen Ambrose's Band of Brothers *, which chronicled the experiences of Easy Company during the war. Winters' leadership and humility became a central theme in the Band of Brothers * narrative, and his story inspired countless people around the world. He remained a quiet and humble man, never seeking the limelight despite the accolades that came his way. For him, the greatest honor was the respect of the men he had led in battle. In his later years, Winters often spoke about the importance of leadership and the responsibility of taking care of one's men. He believed that true leadership was about serving others, a philosophy he had lived by throughout the war. This ethos made him one of the most respected officers of World War II. In 2002, Winters' story reached a new generation through the HBO miniseries * Band of Brothers *, where his character, played by Damian Lewis, became a symbol of courage, integrity, and leadership. The series brought renewed attention to Winters' achievements and cemented his place in history as a military hero. Despite the fame that came with * Band of Brothers *, Winters remained modest about his role in the war. He always emphasized that the real heroes were the men who didn't make it home. His deep respect for the sacrifices of others defined his character and his legacy. Winters passed away on January 2, 2011, at the age of 92. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy continues to inspire military leaders and civilians alike. His story is one of quiet heroism, humility, and an unwavering commitment to doing what was right. Richard Winters' leadership in World War II serves as a timeless example of courage under fire. His ability to lead with both strength and compassion earned him the loyalty of his men and the admiration of those who studied his life. He remains an iconic figure in military history. Today, Winters is remembered not just as a decorated officer, but as a man who led with humility and honor. His legacy lives on in the many lives he touched, and in the enduring lessons of leadership he left behind. His name stands as a testament to the power of quiet, determined leadership in the face of overwhelming odds.
All right, ready for a deep dive today. We're taking a close look at the life of Richard Dick Winters. Everyone knows the Band of Brothers legend, but...
Yeah, the Hollywood portrayal.
Exactly. But we want to go deeper than that.
We're going way beyond the surface here.
What made Winters such an extraordinary leader, especially in the chaos of World War II?
Well, and you've got a mountain of research for us, too. It's incredible.
Biographies, firsthand accounts from the men who served under him, even military strategy breakdowns. It's all here.
Okay, so...
It's all here.
What's our objective? To really understand what made Winters so effective as a leader.
Yeah.
And you know what's so interesting about Winters? He doesn't have that typical born to be a general backstory. You know, no silver spoon, no long family military lineage. He came from humble beginnings.
Right, not a pedigree.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania. His dad was an electrician.
Small town upbringing.
Exactly. And
you think work ethic, discipline, responsibility, that had to have some influence, right?
It's huge.
Yeah.
Those weren't just words in the Winters household. They were like woven into the fabric of his being. And that became the foundation of his leadership later on. But here's the thing. From there, he goes to Franklin and Marshall College, studies business.
Interesting. You wouldn't think someone destined for military greatness would be like immersed in spreadsheets and marketing plans from the get-go, right?
No. You'd think history books, strategy games. Not Dick Winters.
He was cut from a different cloth. But even in that environment, his leadership skills were already starting to show.
They bubbled up to the surface. And it wasn't about him demanding authority or anything like that. It was more about...
Right. Not the shouty.
No, not at all. He captained the wrestling team, excelled academically, was super active in campus life. It's like, even then, a pattern is emerging, you know?
No, absolutely. Teamwork, strategy, dedication. He wasn't just going through the motions. He was shaping the world around him even then.
He was. And don't forget about the camaraderie thing. This wasn't just him off on his own achieving stuff. He thrived in those team environments, everybody working towards a shared goal.
Right. And you can almost draw a straight line from that to the incredible bond he'd form later on with Easy Company.
Exactly. A direct line.
But of course, then 1941 happens, and suddenly the world changes. Winters gets drafted. He could have easily, I don't know, found a way to a safe, comfortable life on the home front. But no, he volunteers, and not just for any branch, he volunteers for the paratroopers. I mean, come on, just talk about a leap of faith.
A huge leap of faith.
The 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, part of the 101st Airborne. Elite units known for their dangerous missions. I mean,
Jumping out of perfectly good airplanes.
into the unknown. Imagine the courage that took. The training alone had to have been just brutal. And this is where Winters really starts to shine.
Because it's one thing to be physically tough, but the mental fortitude to handle that kind of combat, that's on a whole other level.
And Winters, he nailed it. Physically tough, but always calm, always cool under pressure. Right from day one, he just had that presence about him. It set him apart.
You know, we hear that phrase a lot, calm under pressure, but what did that actually look like for Winters back then during those training days? Well, picture it. You're being pushed to your absolute limit physically, mentally, new challenges constantly thrown at you. The pressure is immense because one wrong move could cost lives. But Winters, he stayed cool. Strategic thinking when everyone else is cracking under the pressure. And that's when the other men started to realize he was more than just another soldier. That was leadership.
Even then, they saw it. And it's during this intense training that his path crosses with Easy Company, a group of men who will become central to his story and really to military history. But we'll dive into that more in a bit. So, Winters, totally battle-tested now, thrown into the thick of it with Easy Company. What happens next?
Well, word gets around. His leadership and training doesn't go unnoticed.
You had to have seen it.
Oh, yeah. He gets promoted to platoon leader of Easy Company. And that's a pivotal moment because now it's not just about training anymore. Now he has to earn the respect of these men for real.
Right, lives on the line every single day.
Exactly. And it's easy to see how a by-the-book leader could fold under that kind of pressure, but that's not Winters.
He seemed to, I don't know, almost thrive on it, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's that calmness again, but with this layer of strategic genius on top of it.
Yeah, and it's really on display during D-Day, June 6, 1944. I mean, the scale of the operation is just mind-blowing.
And the chaos.
Winters lands in Normandy, separated from his unit immediately. Enemy fire everywhere. Can you imagine?
A leader's worst nightmare.
Right.
But he doesn't freeze.
It's almost superhuman, you know? How does someone even process what to do in those first few seconds, minutes?
Instinct. Training. Winters rallies his men, assesses the situation, and leads them through it all. And get this. He manages to take out a German artillery battery at this place called Breakhor Manor.
Breakhor Manor, this is the battle that puts Winters on the map, right? The one they still study in military academies today.
That's the one. Winters, with a dozen men, that's 12, against a much larger German force that's just tearing into Utah Beach. They're outgunned, outnumbered, but Winters has a plan.
And we're not just talking about blind courage here, right?
No way. This is strategic brilliance. He uses the terrain to his advantage, comes at them from the sides, uses their own trenches against them. It's incredible. And the result, a huge win for the Americans. Probably saved countless lives on that beach that day.
Unbelievable. Talk about making a name for yourself. After an action like that, his men must have followed him anywhere.
And they did. But it wasn't just blind faith, it was earned respect. They saw him in action. They knew he wasn't about giving orders from some safe distance. He was right there with them, facing the same dangers.
It's one thing to command respect. It's another to inspire this kind of loyalty. What was it about his leadership that resonated so much with Easy Company?
Humility. It's as simple and as profound as that. Winters never asked his men to do something he wouldn't do himself. He shared their burdens, celebrated their victories, and when they lost someone, and they lost a lot of good men, he mourned with them. It was like he took it personally, you know? He never let rank separate him from the men who served under him. Never.
A rare quality in any leader. It's like his leadership went beyond rank, beyond the uniform.
Absolutely. It was about something more, deeper. And it wasn't just a D-Day thing. This was Winters throughout the war. Take the Battle of the Bulge, for instance.
So Winters, this leader who inspires incredible loyalty in his men, now heads into one of the toughest fights of the war, the Battle of the Bulge.
December 1944. The Ardennes forest. Freezing cold, snow everywhere, and a massive German counteroffensive. Nobody expected it.
brutal.
Easy Company is in Bastogne. They're surrounded, critically low on supplies, facing wave after wave of German troops.
But I can't even imagine being there. The cold, the fear, the constant threat of artillery fire. It's the kind of situation that breaks men.
It absolutely does. But not Winters. He's like a rock.
Yeah.
Keeps his men focused on the mission, on survival, even launches these small counterattacks just to keep the Germans off balance.
He's not just hiding in some command post, though, right? I mean, we have accounts of him personally leading patrols out there in the thick of it, exposing himself to enemy fire, all to boost morale.
He led from the front, always. He knew that in the Battle of the Bulge, leadership wasn't just about strategy. It was about keeping hope alive when things were at their bleakest. It was about shared sacrifice, refusing to give up no matter what. And that's what he embodied.
Absolutely. But as the Allies push further into Germany, they're confronted with something that transcends battlefield strategy.
The concentration camps. Words can't describe the horrors, the sheer scale of it. For the men who liberated those camps, seeing that firsthand, it changed them.
And for Winters, a man who seemed to be able to compartmentalize, to stay focused under the most extreme pressure, what was the impact?
We can only imagine. But it must have been profound. For him, it solidified what they were fighting for. The stakes were no longer theoretical. They were staring evil in the face.
And as the war in Europe is winding down, Easy Company, with Winters leading the way, are part of a truly historic moment.
They reach Hitler's eagle's nest. Imagine that, the heart of the Nazi regime, a powerful symbol.
What a moment. So the war ends, and what does Winters do? Turns down promotions, high-ranking positions in the peacetime army. He just wants to go home.
He was done with war, he'd done his duty, led with honor, and now he wanted peace. It says so much about him.
Even with the success of Band of Brothers, the book, the miniseries, he stayed out of the limelight, always deflected praise, always pointed to the men he served with, especially those who didn't make it back.
That's the legacy of Richard Winters, the humility, the unwavering dedication to his men. He was a brilliant tactician, a strategic mastermind, no doubt. But it was his humanity, that empathy, his moral compass, that's what made him truly great.
A good reminder that true leadership isn't about personal gain. It's about serving something bigger than yourself, inspiring others, and leading with courage, compassion, and integrity.
And Winters believed that anyone could embody these qualities, not just on a battlefield, but in everyday life. He saw the potential in everyone.
So as you go about your day, where can you channel your inner Richard Winters? Where can you step up, lead with empathy, make a difference? It's a question worth thinking about. Until next time, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
After the war, Winters returned to civilian life, seeking a quiet existence despite his growing recognition as a war hero. His legacy was later immortalized through Stephen Ambrose's Band of Brothers and the subsequent HBO series, bringing his story to a new generation. Winters always emphasized that true leadership was about serving others and never seeking glory for oneself. His life, both during and after the war, remains a powerful example of humility, integrity, and dedication. Today, he is remembered not only as a brilliant military tactician, but also as a man of deep character who led with heart and honor.